So I don't know if anybody else listening is having the experience I'm having right now, where I have a pit in my stomach because I have at least one person, very prominent person that I have in my mind in my life, and I'm like, check, 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 check. Somebody's talking at the table. They're rolling their eyes at other people. Somebody leaves the room. They just immediately trash them as they leave. What I want to know is, we'll get into what to do, but now that you're really kind of pulling apart the signs, and we've learned that there are sort of two tracks in childhood where this behavior and this personality type is made, what is the impact if you have a parent that is like this? Like, if you've been raised by somebody that exhibits all 5 of these, or you're like, oh my God, I think my mom or my dad was a freaking narcissist. Like, check, check, check. How does that impact you now that you're an adult?
So it's not good. That's the best answer I can give you. It is not good. So let's remember 2 things. First of all, I'm going to add a 5B to that list. Look for entitlement. Like that idea of they won't wait in line. They're special. They expect special treatment, and they get really angry if they're not given special treatment. That's another sign to look for. But let's remember this about narcissism. It's on a continuum. Not all narcissists are the same. So a person who is dealing with more of what we call a milder, lighter narcissistic person is having a very different experience than somebody who's dealing with a rather severe narcissistic person. And I think that what that has sort of muddied the waters in this conversation, because if a person dealing with a milder narcissist hears the story of somebody who's dealing with a really severe narcissist, they're saying, well, maybe I'm not dealing with a narcissist because I'm not living in terror. You know, I'm not isolated from all my friends. I still think that person dealing with a lighter narcissist is still feeling unseen, unheard, self-blaming and all of that. It's just at a different level. The reason I bring this up is with the parents, right? I do think that any narcissism in a parent is never good for a child. But at the more severe levels, it's absolutely devastating. What it does is it hijacks a child's sense of self, identity, autonomy. They don't believe in themselves. They believe that their needs are not, in fact, they've been shamed for their needs their entire life. What, you want something from me? You know, like that's what the parent's attitude is. Maybe not that explicitly, but people who grow up with narcissistic parents, the vast majority become rather anxious adults who are not aware of their own self-worth, who have very inaccurate self-appraisal, usually in the wrong direction. They devalue themselves entirely. They don't trust themselves. They downsell themselves. They don't aspire to things that they actually could do because in some ways they've so internalized the way they were shamed by that parent. But above all else, they sort of lose their entire sense of self because their parent never let them develop it, because in essence, the parent really experience the child as an extension of themselves.
What does that mean when the child's the extension of the parent?
So it means that the child should have no needs outside of that parent. So if the child goes along, everyone gets along. If they're, mommy, you're so pretty and we'll do anything you want, and they eat the way the parent wants, and they do the sport the parent wants, and they excel at what the parent wants, and they're just become literally the parent and have no identity or need outside of that, everything's going to be just fine. But that's not how kids work. The whole point of being a child is to individuate and become autonomous. And once that happens, the parent is not interested in that and they don't like it. So the child will always feel that they're almost in psychological servitude to that parent. They're not allowed to have a reality outside of the parent.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about this sort of whiplash, because you know, when you're dealing with a narcissistic parent or spouse or boss, it feels like, I keep reading these comments from our audience about, like, on one hand, you're like, okay, there's the tantrum behavior, but you still feel responsible for them. You still feel guilty when you're mad at them. You still want to please them.
Correct.
Why?
Because there's a guy named Daniel Shaw who writes about this brilliantly, and I want to credit him because I'm going to use his language. He talks about, and it's going to use a technical term, and I'm going to bring it down to what all of us, how we'd make sense of it. He calls having a narcissistic parent, he calls it a loss of intersubjectivity. That's a real fancy way of saying, it's my reality, it's my way. You you're almost like a non-entity here. Everyone exists to serve me. I don't want you to have needs. I don't want you to be something separate. And a healthy parent, the child will be sad, and the parent will sort of, even if the parent's in a good mood, the child will stop and be with their sad child and listen to them and empathize. Whereas a narcissistic parent will say, this is my birthday. What is happening here? Like, wait, get this kid away from me. Like, well, how dare he cry on my birthday? It's that kind of thing, right? So the child is not allowed to have any sort of experience outside of that of the parents. And then the parent really expresses the resentment at the child having needs. Thus, the child internalizes a sense of shame and even guilt over having needs. So when they go into adulthood, that shame and guilt persists. Because that relationship, a lot of therapists don't address it that explicitly. It's not an easy cycle to end, because remember, unlike an adult narcissistic relationship, the child needs the parent. The child needs the parent for safety, for shelter, for food. It's not like you can divorce a parent and say, I'm going to start dating again and see if I can find someone better. That is not how this works. The child knows the parent's the only game in town, and identity is very much shaped by that attachment relationship, by that caregiving parental relationship. So what you're learning is that you're a pain in the neck, don't need so much, you're not good enough, because if you were good enough, that parent would be regulated, that parent would be happy, so you're doing something wrong. And the narcissistic parent explicitly and implicitly communicates that to them. I wish you'd never been born. You're so much trouble. I would have had such an amazing career if it weren't for you. Child shouldn't be hearing that. They'll shame a child's weight, like, oh, goodness, if somebody's eating too much, it's because you're a bad reflection on the parent. If you don't look the way the parent wants, you're not doing what the parent wants. Oh, my kid, he wants to play a violin. He won't even play sports. All of those things are, the child is supposed to be a functionary for the parent. And so as that person goes into adulthood, I would actually say it's almost a 3-part whiplash. There is the sense of, you know what the tantrum is. You see it coming. Mm-hmm. You then have the experience of, is this my fault? I need to calm them down. I feel bad. And then you have the third experience that you may still have some good moments with that parent. Yes. That parent may be really smart, really interesting, really fun. I mean, in fact, a lot of people say, as I got older, there were parts of my parent I enjoyed because I'd noticed there was something fun, but I still felt the shaming and the blaming. And it's very interesting for a lot of narcissistic parents. They like babies because babies are sort of like an accessory, like a bag. You can kind of take them around, like, and show them around town. Once they stop being baggable and carryable, not so interested in, not so cute on social media, then there's this huge, long period where that child needs more than it can give back. Then the child gets into late adolescent and early adulthood. The parent's interested again. They can go out to dinner with them. They can go to a bar with them. They can go on an interesting vacation with them. They can bring them into the family business. And so now they're interested in their kid. And for some kids who desperately wanted that love, they go all in on that. They're like, right. I'm going to play tennis with my dad, or I'm going to help my mom in her business, because now I'm going to get that love, the love you wanted when you were 4 and you couldn't quite work in the family business. So now that trauma, and that's where we get to this idea of the trauma bond.
Okay, let's talk about this, because I know that what's happening as you're listening to this is you're probably going, ding, 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 ding. And we're focusing on parents right now, but we are going to get into romantic relationships. But I think it's an important distinction that with the parent-child relationship, you are there. Like, you don't have an option.
You don't have an option.
So what do you do now? If you're sitting there listening to this and you're going, oh my God, that's me. And I do keep jumping back into the fire. Mm-hmm. It's like this, are they super hostile? Or, are they loving me? Did I get it right and now I'm getting affection? Or are they trying to annihilate me because they're not getting what they need from me and I'm not behaving? So right. as an adult now, if you're going, this is me, what do you do?
So a couple things. All right. Number one, I am not going to sugarcoat this and say there's like 3 easy steps to pushing back from a narcissistic parent. This ain't TikTok, folks. Like, this is hard work. Okay. There is no 3-step, 5-step, 10-step, or even 172-step plan here.
Okay. I'm going to take a deep breath because I need every one of you to hear, this is not TikTok.
Okay. No.
You need to wake up and realize that, first of all, you're not changing the weather in Chicago. Mm-mm. and you're not going to change the personality type if your parent is a narcissist or you are in love with one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. So number one is the acknowledgement. And this is the hardest part of all. Although you're this person's child, narcissistic people view all the people around them as objects. Like my coffee maker or my tea maker. This morning I made a cup of tea. I don't think about my tea maker unless I want a cup of tea. When I want a cup of tea, me and my tea maker interact. The rest of the day, don't think about it once.
At all?
At all. Why would I? I don't need a cup of tea, right? And that's how a narcissistic person thinks about other people. Do I need something from you? Yeah. Do I need something from you? Oh yeah, I do need something from you. Now you're my central focus. I'm thinking about only you. But just like if that tea maker waddled over to me and said, hey, could you listen to me? I'd be like, what? You're a tea maker. Like, go away. This is not Beauty and the Beast. Appliances do not talk. Get the hell away from me. You are a tea maker. Learn your place. So for a narcissistic person, we all serve a function for them. Whether it's their lover, whether you're their accountant, whether you're their cleaner. That's why narcissistic people always have like a team around them. It's always about the team. I'm like, of course you have a team around you because everyone serves a function for you.
I'm trying to pick my mouth up off the floor because this is a revolutionary idea for me. That a narcissistic person isn't ever thinking about you unless they need something for you.
Exactly.
And yet, if you have ever been in a serious relationship with a narcissist or you were raised by one, you think about them all the time.
All the time. All that you're ruminating them. They're not thinking about you unless they need something from you or you're a blockade to something they need, right? Like you're not signing the deal or because you're sick, they can't go to something. Now they're thinking about you because they're mad at you, right? But it's going back to your parents.
I'm like,
going back to that parenting issue. So as you get into adulthood, you are an object to them. So like, what can I do? What can I this? You're never going to be able to read their mind and give them everything they want. You will never be able to. None of us are mind readers. You're never going to be able to fully anticipate. And what's so sad is people who are all in with narcissistic parents or even narcissistic partners will literally try to devote their lives to anticipating the narcissistic person's every need so they can finally win them over, that they could do it just right. So that's not possible because none of us are mind readers. Remember that?
so what do you do?
You give up. You at that point, you're like, okay, I can only be the best person I can be. Live in a way that's in line with your own values, right? Now, this is why I'm saying that this is not an easy TikTok strategy. Because even as you do that, even when the day comes, you realize my parent's never going to end. My parent is never going to change. None of this is my fault. It's really just my genetic bad luck that this is the parent I pulled.
Yeah.
Again, I am not responsible for any of this. I need to stop taking my bucket to an empty well. They're never going to notice me. They are never going to have empathy for me. I cannot live my life as a sacrifice to them and forever keep trying to please them and not living my own true, authentic path. All of those things are important. Here's the part that I'm saying is never, this is just the work, and then when you tell your parent, no, I'm not coming to dinner this Sunday. I'm not. I didn't feel good last month. I'm taking a pass. Really? You're not coming? I was making that special thing and I really miss you and I'm thinking of you. And you know, I'm getting older. 90% of people are going to break under that one and they're going to show up and guess what's going to happen at that dinner again? The criticism, the humiliation, the devaluation, the invalidation, right? So I say to people, you got two options here. Either be with the guilt of saying no or go to the dinner with realistic expectations. That when you, and almost make it a game, like a personal bingo. You know, it's not quite a drinking game because if you took a shot every time they invalidated you, you'd be loaded before the main course came. But if you, I literally have done this where I'm like, okay, I'm going to collect points at this dinner. For every 5 invalidations, I'm going to go like, I'm going to get a scoop of ice cream. And then it's like a little thing that pays out during the week. Like Tuesday, I'm going to get ice cream. And on Thursday, I might get a massage. Like 15 invalidations is usually a massage for me.
And
so
that
I'm like,
keeps you objective.
Yeah.
Too.
And I'm like, I'm gunning. I'm like, do it again. We're 13. I really want the massage.
So let me ask you this question. So should you ever confront a narcissist? Like somebody's going to come listen to this podcast and be like, all right, that's it. I'm calling dad.
Nope. if we only said one thing in this entire podcast episode is never ever call out a narcissist, we would be giving the single most brilliant piece of advice.
Why do you never call out a narcissist?
I'm going to temper that with, it depends on what you want. If you're doing this because you want to say, it's like a gotcha moment, haha, I see you. Okay. And they're going to rage at you and they're going to scream at you. And there might be a smear campaign now. And they may be telling everybody out there that not only you are an ungrateful kid, but you are the narcissist and you're the one who's harmful and everybody needs to keep their distance from you. And I mean, they will really do such a number on you that, and they're not going to change. So if all it is for you to say, I see you, I think the better way to play that is you see them, now change your behavior. Stop being supply for them. Stop engaging with them. Stop taking the bait.
So are you saying if you call home and the first thing out of somebody's mouth is, haven't heard from you in a long time, you should not say, the phone works both ways?
No way. No, if you know this person's narcissistic, absolutely not. So they say, haven't heard from you in a long time. And you'd say, no, you haven't.
Oh.
And then where are they going to go with that? Because what you've done is you've taken away the volley. They're playing tennis. You need to play solitaire.
Can you give us some other role plays?
So put another conversation starter out there for me.
Why don't you come to Thanksgiving?
And the assumption in this one is, why don't you come to Thanksgiving? Is this person's committed fully to not going this year?
You got to come to me.
Okay, so you go. This is where, and I'm going to step back before I role play that. I'm going to introduce the concept of true north. Okay, the true north.
Okay,
true north is a big healing, what we call healing technique for folks, or at least it's more of a management technique than healing, I should say. True north is that you need to figure out what in your life is worth fighting for. So maybe you're not going to Thanksgiving this year, not only because you don't want to see them, but it's your kids playing football that day. All right, and you do not want to miss that football game, or you do actually have a big deadline at work the Monday after Thanksgiving and you want to get it done. Or you said, heck with it, this is the year we're actually going to go camping, or we're going to go to Hawaii for Thanksgiving. Okay. Yep. Because that's what my family has always wanted to do. Whatever, your friends, you've decided to take a trip with your friends. Your true north is what is healthy for you. Okay. So you've got to be clear on that.
It sounds like it's a balance between how much guilt can you tolerate. Right?
Kind of. It is and it isn't, because the guilt is, people feel guilt. People feel guilt when they believe they're doing something wrong. Oh. So to which I'd say, what did you do wrong? You feel guilt if you committed a crime. You feel guilt if you stole something. You feel guilt if you cheated on someone. So when my clients tell me all the time, I feel guilty, I'm like, tell me what you did wrong. And that's when I get the pause. They're like, I don't want to go to Thanksgiving. I'm like, I'm sorry. So help me understand where that's wrong. Well, that's what they want. I'm like, I hear that, but how is that wrong? Because the axiom to that is not doing what they want is wrong.
Okay. Everybody, did you hear that? This is a huge takeaway. So if the lights are going off in your head and you're starting to go, wait a minute, I definitely either had a parent that had some narcissistic personality, or I'm in a relationship with somebody like this. The reason why you feel guilty is because if you don't do what they say, that's wrong.
Correct. That's exactly.
That's what you were trained to believe.
You were trained to believe that is. And if you had a parent like that, and let's say this is even happening in your committed relationship or your marriage, then that's another time when you were almost indoctrinated into believing not doing what another person wants is wrong. And I like make the argument about it for me.
This is foundational. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is the tantrum throwing.
Yes.
The shaming, the gas. I didn't say that. Like all the adolescent tantrum behavior.
Adolescent, toddler.
Yeah, is what actually has trained you to believe that not doing something that person wants is wrong. That's why you feel guilty.
That's why you feel guilty.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. How the hell do you get rid of that programming?
Well, first of all, is one of the only paths forward to healing is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right?
I don't like that answer.
And I know people don't like that answer. And I'll tell you why. Everyone goes to the damn gym and they lift the weights and they do this and they're CrossFitting that and they're in pain. Because they want a hot ass, or they want abs, or they want arms, and they want to look good. Why are you willing to tolerate pain there, and you're not willing to tolerate pain here? Pain's pain, folks.
Oh. So, Dr. Ramani, I'm so excited to be here with you.
Narcissism is not a diagnosis. Okay.
Wait, what?